Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Golden Boots podcast. This is your host, Jorge Gonzalez. Our podcast is all about soccer, all things soccer. For episode 17, today we have Zion Sellers. She plays at UNC Pembroke. She's originally from the Georgia area, but has lived here in North Carolina for a while. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. How's your day been? I know you're a busy person, right?
It's been good. Just busy. The usual, you know.
Is it busier because of like the period that we're in, or are you always just busy?
I'm always just busy. I thrive in chaotic situations, I feel like. So I had to have like busy days.
Okay.
And I mean, it gets to the point where I get really stressed out, but I don't know why. I just kind of like that feeling.
You're just a performer. I feel like people that like to perform do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like they overload their calendars and then they're like, oh my God.
That's me.
Versus like, I don't think I could go 3 or 4 days of just not doing anything, right? Like if I go with, like from time to time, I need that day, but like after the third or fourth, are like, what are we doing? What's going on, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, awesome. So our podcast, we like to bring in different players, kind of highlight a little bit about them, see who they are. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Zion Sellers. I'm 19. I lived in Georgia, like you said, small community. I played rec soccer while I was there. Then I moved to North Carolina. I got involved with club soccer. And then I also got exposed to the arts. So I went to Northwest School of the Arts for high school.
Okay.
Very different because there were no sports at my high school. Our homecoming was actually a talent show. So that's interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you do? Can you tell us?
I did musical theater and piano.
Okay, cool.
Those were my majors there. And so I had to make a decision on whether I wanted to do musical theater or soccer. I obviously chose soccer.
Okay.
So now
I'm glad you did, because we wouldn't be having this podcast.
I know. I'm glad too. I mean, soccer was definitely my first love, so I'm glad, I went with soccer.
Nice. When did it start for you? Like, were you little? Like, when you started playing rec? When did you start like, oh man, I really enjoyed it?
I was probably like 8 or 9, and then when I moved to North Carolina was when I started taking it seriously.
Okay.
When I lived in Georgia, my mom tried to get me to be one of those dance girls. And then I did cheerleading, and I was like, this isn't for me. And then I was like, let me try a sport. My dad played soccer growing up, so he's like, you should try soccer. I was like, okay.
Well, I bet he's proud now then, huh?
Oh, yeah, for sure. He got all 3 of us to play soccer.
Okay, that's awesome. That's pretty cool. Like, tell us a little bit about like your experience like in club then. What was that like?
I remember coming here, and we had to try out because I was playing club, obviously. And so I think we had 2 or 3 teams, and I had to try out for one of them. And I was like, oh, I'm scared, like, because, rec, like, you don't have to try out. You just kind of sign up and go out there.
Yeah.
But it was like with club, I remember my first tryout. I think I cried, actually. And I don't cry, but, like, I bawled. I was like, Dad, I'm so bad. Like, maybe it's time I should quit. But I wound up, like, sticking with it, thank God.
Why, though? Like, did you play a bad game? Like, what
I just wasn't that good at that time. Like, I wasn't. I'm going to be honest. And so I was like, okay, maybe this is not for me. Like, maybe I should pick a different sport. But my dad was like, no, you're going to stick with it and just get better.
Good for your dad.
Yeah, so he definitely motivated me and pushed me a lot. And then I got a lot better. I made the first team, and then I was like, okay, I like this. I remember we went on a Disney tournament. We lost, I think, like almost every game. We might have won maybe 1. But, yeah, we lost almost every game, and I think that was the first time I had played, like, real competition.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I got to get better. Like, I got to step it up. So flash forward to, like, high school. I think that was when I started, like, working out, doing private trainings just to get better. And
okay.
Yeah.
What kind of things were you working on?
Technical. Everything was technical because I was a forward.
Okay.
And so I was fast, but, like, I lacked skill. I was just very athletic.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What did you work on mostly? Like finishing, like headers? Like what do you remember most about like those trainings?
I remember
footwork,
like one-on-ones.
hold up play. Okay.
That was my biggest thing, was one-on-one.
Okay.
I lacked confidence in taking people on one-on-one.
Okay. So. Nice. You feel like you're strong at it now?
Yes. Probably because I worked on it so much. And it's like, now I thrive with one-on-ones, I feel like. I like to talk a little trash. So I feel like if you talk trash, like, you have to be good. You can't talk trash and just, be terrible.
You know what? Like, I've never realized, maybe because, like, growing up, I watched mostly men's soccer and, like, men's league. Like, you're used to talking trash, but girls talk so much trash, too.
Oh, my gosh, yes. But it's sometimes it's like catty trash talking.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know, but guys trash talking is so much more different than like females trash talking, but they're still hilarious either way.
What, can you remember a moment of something that you said to somebody or like it was funny?
Oh God. I think I was like, "You're only fouling me because you know I can beat you." That was all I said. And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "You have no skill. That's why you keep fouling me." And in my mind, I thought that was like the best trash talking I could ever do. But like, that was terrible. And the girl just looked at me like, "Okay, like, who is this?" Yeah.
That's funny. Awesome. So you went from playing club and then you went to Pembroke. Tell us a little bit about those changes. How did you get there?
So I had a lot of friends that committed early.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, I'm not committed yet. Like, what do I do? And so for me, ID camps were a big thing and emailing coaches. So I started emailing coaches at probably my freshman year. And then
Of high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
High school. My dad was like, you got to get on it.
That's very smart.
Yeah. So, you know, but they can't talk to you. So in my mind, I was like, they're not reaching out because I'm not good. But
Just
really,
overanalyzing everything.
Yeah. But it was like, no, like they cannot talk to you.
Yeah.
So I went to a couple ID camps. They came to a couple tournaments, and then coaches started reaching out my junior year. And then I didn't want to commit because I was like, I just want to see like all the offers and like really get to know the coaches and stuff.
Playing
but,
the
like,
field a little bit. Okay.
yeah,
gotcha.
but colleges don't really have the time because like if you say yes, then it's like, okay, good. But if you say no, then there are other girls.
True.
And it's like, then the money's gone.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you have to act fast in a sense. And so for me, that was a little stressful because I was like,
Okay.
I don't know, like I can't tell you. And he was like, so my coach, Lars, I remember he called and was like, so where are you looking at? Like, what are you thinking? And I was like, I think I'm going to go with, in the beginning I said I was going to go with Belmont Abbey.
Okay.
But then I came back and I was like, I want to come to Pembroke.
Okay.
Which was like a big change, but for me it was just being so close to home. Like I live like 5 minutes away from Belmont Abbey.
Okay.
And then I started thinking like, mom could pop up at any time. Dad could pop up at any time. They could drop the like siblings off to babysit even. So I was like, okay, like, and don't get me wrong, I loved Belmont Abbey. You know, like I'm still close to some of the girls there till this day. And like Coach Mike lives in my neighborhood.
Okay.
But I decided to go to Pembroke just because it was a lot further.
And you feel more of that college experience, right?
Yeah, because it's like I'm on my own in a
Yeah.
sense. But yeah, it was a good fit for me. Small town, country vibes.
Uh-huh.
I love the players. You know, they're like my closest friends. Probably the only girls that I talk to on a daily basis, honestly. But we get along pretty
That's
good.
awesome.
Now.
Like, I feel like your personality is more like, okay, like I like to relax and vibe like in an environment, but you also like to like go and like do a lot of things.
Yes.
So, like you got a mix of everything, which is cool.
Yeah, for
Nice.
sure.
That's awesome. So what were some of the differences that you saw when you started playing in college?
Definitely the work ethic because it was like everyone had to work 10 times harder. You have to, so before like in club, you could ask for like special trainings, but the staff is a lot different than in college. Like in college, you have your strength and conditioning coach, you have your athletic trainer who can give you stretches, your strength coach who can give you workouts, conditioning can give you like your running.
Yeah.
And so it was like in college, I remember I was like dog tired one practice. And the girl was like, yeah, we're going to go get some extra work in with strength and conditioning coach. I was like, okay.
Good for you. Have a good day.
Do I have to come? But you know, it's just like it's an adjustment because you're not used to, like, you have to push yourself a lot more. And I don't think I was used to pushing myself like I was.
Oh, that's good.
Until I got to college. I didn't know that I had that extra like 20% left because I never tapped into it. But in college, like when you're surrounded by players who want to make you better and they want to make themselves better, they push you. And it's like, you didn't even know you had that potential until you met them.
That's amazing. Like it just, I think like part of success, whether in a sport or anything, is that association, right?
Yeah.
Like because you were around players that wanted it more, like, okay, like you felt like you had to give that extra, right?
For sure.
Nice.
I remember our captains, Katie and Gina, twins, phenomenal players. And I never knew that, like, after practice is how, like, they had so much energy until they graduated. I was like, that's not normal. Like, my body hurts. I'm struggling to walk. Like, and y'all want to go again? But, you know, I'm really grateful for them because they taught me a lot.
Nice. What kind of things, like, did your captain project to your team? Like,
work ethic. That was our biggest thing. So we had a very fast team.
Okay.
We knew we were probably the fastest team in our conference, and it worked to our favor. But the issue became we knew that we were fast, and so sometimes we would start to play down to other teams' levels. You know, like we would realize, okay, maybe we don't have to go 110% on this sprint.
Yeah.
But the twins, they were like, oh, no, you go 110%. Always, no matter what. And so it was just one of those things where you got into that mentality of, I'm always going to give it my all, no matter what. Yeah. And so I was really grateful for that in the end.
I love that. I mean, like, no wonder they were captains. They set the standards, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think, like, when it comes to, like, success in soccer and a lot of things, like, when you're good, like, it's almost hard to push yourself to an extra level, right?
Yeah.
So that's where that accountability aspect comes from players. Like, okay, like, even, like, I remember, like, I played for some really bad teams. So, like, we never had, like, super success. But other teams or other people that I've talked to have played under coaches where, like, even if they're winning 4-0, like, the coach will criticize something like, why aren't you running? Even though it's, like, minute 88. But it makes sense. Like, you always have to keep that standard high because you never know. There might be a game where you're down 2-0. Like, I was watching Seattle, Minnesota in the MLS, and they were losing 2-0 at minute 78. But the team was confident, and they, like, you could see it. It was projected through them, and they ended up winning 3-2 at the end.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm like, that's, like, that championship mentality, right? Like, that has to stem down to everybody. And that didn't start that game. That started in the practices. That started, okay, when new players are coming in, like you see the standards that the captain are setting. You're like, okay, like, that's where we have to elevate to.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, what's been, like, your best game so far, like a game that you can remember really well in college?
Lenore Ryan was like our first game, but that was my first goal.
Okay.
And so, of course, you never forget your first goal.
Yeah.
You know,
Describe that a little bit.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
I remember I did not start that game, and I was like, dang, like, ooh, this kind of hurts, you know, because I feel like, you know, you have a good practice. We had scrimmages before. We scrimmaged Belmont Abbey and Mount Olive, like, for non-conference. And so I was like, you know, I had a great scrimmage. Like, I'm going to start. And
You're like me and 10 other players, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I had, like, my family out there and everything. And so I was like, yeah, like, I'm going to start. I called that starting lineup. Didn't hear my name. I was like, okay, cool. You know,
were you, like, heated, or were, like, what? Like, when you take news like that, how do you internalize it? Like, you're like, oh, I'm about to come out there.
It just made me be like, okay, well, now I have to prove to you that I deserve to start.
Okay.
So as soon as I got in the game, I think in the first 5 minutes I scored.
Okay.
And so I was like, take that. Like, I should be starting type deal. But I remember it was my roommate, actually. We had practiced this play, like, all the time. Through ball type deal, one touch, goal. Literally, that was the play. My roommate, she got the ball. She was in attacking mid. And she played me the through ball. I ran across the middle, took a touch, shot it in.
You knew it then, huh?
I did. I knew it. I was like, okay, this is it. So I knew that in my mind, I have these, like, little plays, like, if this happens, this is what I'm going to do in return. Yeah. So I had been waiting for that, like, ball perfectly, and she played it perfectly. And I was like, as soon as I scored, I remember I was like, oh my God, did I just score? And then she came up to me and was, like, screaming, and she, like, picked me up. I was like, oh my God, you scored. And
I thought you would have had, like, a celebration ready.
I
like,
didn't.
Okay, like, I'm going to go to the flag and do a little dance or something.
I wish I did, looking back on it. I totally didn't. I was just, like, in shock that I literally didn't do anything. I was like, did I score? Like,
it's like one of those moments in movies where, like, they pause it and, like, you hear, like, people talking in the background and it's you. Like, that happened to you.
I was like, oh, that could have gone so much better. But, you know, and then I got the goal, and I started starting games a lot more after that. So
nice.
I was cool with it.
Yeah. Do you usually start as a forward?
So this is funny. Maybe not to you, but it's kind of funny to me. I, like, have literally played every position in a game except for goalie.
Okay.
So I really don't know what games I will start in. So I started in the beginning as a forward, but then in the first conference game, I started as a right back.
Okay.
I didn't start actually. I set out that game. And it was against our biggest rivals like Columbus State. I played right back, and that was the first time I had ever played defense, and so I was freaking out. I was like, Coach, why did you do this? Why did you do this? And
why did she tell you after? Was it your athleticism, your aggression? Like what?
She was like, you're athletic, and she says, I feel like you can figure it out type deal, and you work well with the center back that's on our team. She was a freshman.
Okay.
She's my roommate.
Okay.
And I work pretty well with the girls that I room with. I don't know if just because we train together all the time.
It's chemistry.
Yeah. And so that definitely helped. And I remember I was in the back in the first play. I was like, do I step? Do I not? She's like, step. And I was like, okay, cool. But after that first play, when I got in, I don't know, it just kind of something came over me, and I was
Your coach knew then, huh?
Yeah. And so after that moment, I started playing right back.
Okay.
Then I went back to playing forward because I bruised my ribs in a game. So
tell us a little bit about that. What happened?
I got trucked.
Really?
Literally got trucked. And I remember I just fell, and I was like, oh my God. And I was like, I was crying, but I was like, was I crying? I can't remember. But I was like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And it just hurt to breathe. And then my teammates came over, and they were laughing.
Are you serious? I was going to ask you, give us some context of what's going on, because stuff like that happens depending on who you play. Maybe a fight breaks out.
Yeah, so it wasn't a fight. I don't even know if it was I just remember she came out of nowhere, and it was a 50-50 ball.
Okay.
But I had passed it off. And then I just remember
boom.
this, huge pain in my side, and then I fell to the ground, and I was struggling to breathe, and I was lying on the ground. Then my trainer came out, and she was like, you can walk? I was like, yeah, I think so. And I just got up and walked, and then I went to the bench, and I was like, oh my God, it hurts to breathe. And then my teammates came over, and one of them made a joke, but I couldn't laugh. When you have a bruised rib cage, it hurts to do almost anything. And so I started laughing. That's when I cried. I started laughing.
You started laughing. You went from laughing to crying.
Yes, and I was like, oh my God, this is so painful. And she's like, you're going to be okay. We'll put some ice on it. And I was like, okay, ice me up. And then halftime came, and I was like, so can I go back in the game? She was like, no.
I love that winner mentality in you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. So you play, what other positions did you play?
I played attacking mid. I played defensive mid. I think for this season, because before we went home for break, I practiced at attacking mid and defensive mid. So I'm thinking this year that's where I'm going to play. But, I honestly don't know. But I'm okay with it now, It's just wherever you need me. As long as I get the playing time, I'm fine.
That's awesome. Which position do you like the most, though?
Right back.
Really?
I don't know why. It's just a lot of the times, I've realized people don't expect you to come that far up and get back at the same time.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I'm almost unmarked. So I can take shots.
Okay.
As a right back, if I get up, I just have to remember to get back.
Okay.
But that's probably my favorite position. Forward, I just felt like I was sprinting at 110. Every time they were play that ball, I was like, okay, here we go. One more sprint.
And I feel as a forward, you're always expecting your midfield, who's behind you, so how good they are at passing. So even when you're making that run, you're I don't know if they're gonna give me a clean ball or not, right?
Yeah, but it was you always had to make it the run, because you have to make it, even if you're not gonna get the ball. You gotta make it look like you're trying to get it. You're putting in that work. But for me, also, I like to play the full 90 minutes, and as a forward, it's so hard to play the full 90 minutes. I don't know if that's just me, but I don't even think I can play. I'm sure I could if I really tried, but I'd be tired sometimes.
I think you just like performing at a high level through the whole game, correct? And I feel right at the end, after probably minute 70, 75, you really start to feel it.
Yeah, it kicks in, and you're like, all right, I think I got about maybe 4 more sprints left, but I got 20 minutes left. Let's play my feet, And then also with defense, you don't sub out your back line like at all. So I know that if I'm playing defense, I'm playing the full 90 minutes.
Okay.
So I don't know.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Tell me like your most memorable experience right now, like playing. What's that been for you?
The Columbus State game.
Okay.
Because it was my first day like playing defense, and then I remember we do film.
Okay.
Generally, like, we don't do it after every game, but we do it after, like, the big ones when we've had a good game or, like, when something goes wrong. So we can kind of just, like, prepare for the next game from it. And I remember we were sitting in, like, the film room, and I had made this run that I don't know why I made it. And I'm glad my midfielder saw me making the run, but, like, I made this run from all the way, like, back in my half and sprinted, like, to probably, like, the top of the D.
Okay.
And then when I went there, she played the ball in, and I literally, Columbus State's team, super fast. Like, girls run everywhere. And so I, like, saw her on my back side, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a touch, and I'm going to just cross it in. And I think I almost scored. And I was like, I just almost took a shot from, like, midfield. Like, why? But it was a good cross, you know. We didn't finish it, though, but that was probably my most memorable. And I remember being in the film room, and they're like, this is how you make a run. And I was like, yes, coach.
You were just like, yeah,
I'm
good.
Thank you. They gave me a big confident boost, you know.
That's awesome. What would be some advice that you would give to girls or anyone in general that wants to play college?
For me, it was about finding the right school. And so a lot of my friends committed D1. And, you know, like, I feel like oftentimes people think, oh, you went D2, like, you must not be that good type deal. But it's like finding the right school for you. And for me, it was like I knew I loved the arts, and I didn't want to invest, like, all my time into soccer. And I felt like a lot of D1 schools, like, just trained a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, we train a lot too, but it's definitely not as much as, like, other D1 schools.
Okay.
And so I feel like it's important to find the right school for you, the right coaching staff, because you spend so much time with that coaching staff and the team. So if either one of those, like, you're not feeling it, I wouldn't say go to that school. Just because it's hard to be happy at a school where you don't get along with the coaching staff, or, you know, like, you don't like your teammates. Yeah. So my biggest thing is finding the right school for you.
That's awesome. I like it because also you talk about knowing yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the number one thing, right? Like, I feel like sometimes we get pressured into things that we don't really want to do.
Exactly.
And then, like, you are making other people happy, but, like, at the end of the day, like, you need to invest in yourself as well.
Yeah.
Right? So I love that you kind of, like, thought about it. That's a great way of looking at things, because it's all about perspective, but it's got to be your perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, I'll take advice from other people, but, like, you know yourself the best, right? And so you know what's important to you.
I remember my mom, like, right before I committed, she's like, okay, if you get hurt, are you still going to want to go there? And for me, that was, like, a big deal, because it was like I'd never looked at it that way. Like, you look at it, okay, like, this is where I'm going, so I can play soccer for the next 4 years, get a soccer scholarship. No one ever thinks about getting hurt. Yeah. But it's like, if you do get hurt, will you still be happy at that school?
Wow.
And so for me, I was like, heck yeah, Mom. This is it. This is the school. I'm going to Pembroke. But yeah, I think a lot of times if you sit there and you ask yourself, like, would I be happy if something doesn't go your way? Then I think it's worth the investment. It's worth taking the risk. It's worth going to the school. It's worth taking that job, you know? Like, yeah. Sometimes it's just worth the risk, you know?
I like that. That's some great advice.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, moving on a little bit, like, I know you mentioned to me that you like Arsenal, you like Liverpool, so I'll let it go because I'm a big Liverpool fan, and I like Arsenal. They're an okay team, but you've told me that you've been to London before and you actually went to the stadium. Tell us a little bit about that. That's really cool.
So the stadium is, oh God, up close, it's incredible. And it was my first time, like, going somewhere and being that close, like, walking the field, walking the locker rooms. And I just remember being in the locker room like, oh my God, like, this is their locker room? I was like, I could live here, honestly. Like, there's TVs everywhere, the showers. Oh, for me, that was a big thing because, like, in college, if you go to a different school, like, taking a shower's very different, you know, like, it's not expected. And sometimes you have to share showers, which is weird.
Yeah.
But, like, 10 times better than what you can imagine. Like that's how nice that stadium was.
Imagine you go in here like, look at the showers, and everybody's like, what?
Yeah, literally. Everybody's like, why is she so fascinated? But it was like a dream, honestly. And then I remember they had like this little, I think it was like their press box area where you could go in and they showed you where they did interviews. And I remember like my middle school self sitting at the table like, yeah, so thanks. I like pretended to have a whole press conference, and I think my mom was taking pictures. And I was like,
awesome.
Please, no flash photography. But it was just like oh my gosh, that was something else. But, you know, it was a big moment for me just because it made me realize like how much work goes into the field and off the field. Like it's important to have nice facilities like that because you're performing at such a high level. Yeah.
That's why I think like players that come from nothing like appreciate that more, right?
Yeah.
Like, because imagine like you come from the slums of somewhere and like even in the U.S., like we're pretty blessed to be here, but like think of other countries that are like just developing nations, and you go from that to actually being a star in a soccer team, like your level of appreciation is just higher.
Yeah, exactly. Right? That's so nice. That was definitely probably the highlight.
Did you get a chance to look at the trophy room?
Yes.
How was that?
Oh gosh. Oof, it was so many, and I was like, why? Because in club and stuff, like you get the trophies, but they don't go to you.
Yeah.
You get to take a picture, and then that's like that's it. You never really see it again. But like theirs are so nice. It's like everything is like perfectly all shiny and everything, and it's like not a single speck of dust. Like they have to clean those like every day.
And they're the only team that has like the golden Premier League, so they win a season undefeated. So they're the only team in Europe that has like a golden trophy, which I was like, okay, that's so really nice. Cool.
So nice, and it's huge. The trophies are huge.
I wonder. They don't. I think it'd be cool if they would let you hold them, but I mean, I understand.
Like, I don't think they do. I mean, I wasn't allowed to hold them.
No, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't let you, but like,
Probably
I thought
not.
that would be because I would be like, yeah, like screaming or something.
Oh yeah, I'm probably trying to like recreate one of those, pictures where they take the trophies and like pouring it in their mouth,
Nice, awesome. So last question then for you would be, what do you think soccer has taught you about life or about yourself?
It definitely taught me that I can always go a little bit further than I think. Like that extra push that we were talking about earlier. Like tapping into that 20% left that you didn't think that you had, but you actually do have. You just have to have that mentality that like, I'm going to keep going because I can keep going. And once you like get that in your mind, you're able to literally do anything.
That's awesome.
So that's probably my biggest lesson that soccer has taught me.
Yeah, I love that because, I mean, like, I think the magic is always in the extra mile as well, right? Like, very few people are willing to push themselves to kind of that extra mile. And, I mean, like, you see, like, once you go to that level, it's kind of like when you stretch a rubber band, right? Like, after that rubber band is stretched, like, it's never going to go back to the same rubber band it was, right? That's the same thing when you push yourself. Right, like you're never gonna.
I like that. That's a good analogy. I like that. I gotta reuse that.
You're gonna start saying like, yeah, I've always said this. But yeah, that and like you also put like wins in your success folder, right? Like so, just for me personally, every time I feel like I'm down or like, going through something, I try to look back at like the stuff that I've been successful because I know that builds my confidence.
Yeah.
Right, and that's why I love like stories like that, like people pushing themselves. So. Awesome. Well, this concludes episode 17. Zion, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.